Welcome to the Fireside Chat with Fitness and Nutrition with Adrienne and Ken. Today we'll be talking about common misconceptions about nutrition and fitness. Ken, do you want to kick off?
I do. I have 10 misconceptions I want to go over and see if you've heard it. I'm sure most of you have heard one or two of them, but maybe all of them. Number one is more exercise is always better. And this is not necessarily the case, especially with strength training. You want to take it easy on your body, give it time to rest. That is actually the time where your muscles build and repair themselves. It's not the exercise itself that makes you stronger. It's the rest in between the sets, or in between the days that you exercise. So in that case, more is not always better. Every other day is a good start. 48 hours. The muscle needs at least 48 hours to recuperate and recover and get ready for its next set, or its next intensive workout. So more is not always better in that instance. Number two, spot reducing works. You cannot make a muscle smaller. You cannot, by exercising, you cannot make your you cannot get a six-pack by doing 1,000 sit-ups a day. You can't do it. It's impossible. You can spot increase, you can spot bulk, by doing curls, or but you can't make a muscle smaller. It only makes them more stronger and more a little bit larger too. But you can't spot reduce. Spot reduction is a combination of a good diet and exercise. So you have to eat correctly in order to get rid of the body fat over the top that's covering your muscles. So spot reducing is a fallacy. You cannot do it. Number three, weightlifting makes women bulky. And that is just not true. Now, genetically, if you're predisposed to having a little bit more testosterone than the average woman, you might put on a little bit more bulk than the average woman. But unless you're working out 6 hours a day or 4, unless you're a professional bodybuilder, you will not be Arnold Schwarzenegger. It's impossible for you to put on that amount of muscle if you work out, strength training 3 times a week, every other day. It's just impossible. You won't do it. So don't worry about that one. And number 4 is no pain, no gain. You don't have to exercise to where you're in pain. That could be a possible muscle tear, or ligament tear, or tendon tear. So you don't want to go to where it's specifically a joint that's hurting. Now you can go to where there's minor discomfort in the muscle, and that's what you want. To where, if you're doing a bicep curls and you're 9 and you can't do any more in good form, that's 10. That might hurt a little bit, but it shouldn't be really, really painful, especially afterwards. It should go away. So no pain, no gain. Not necessarily the case. You will make gains. You don't have to be in pain. Number 5. Cardio is the best way to lose weight. Well, cardio is a good way to lose weight, but it's not the only thing that you need to do. Cardio alone won't do it. It has to be a combination of strength training, because strength training puts on muscle, and muscle burns calories when you're doing nothing. So the more muscle you have, the better it is for weight loss. And then cardio, for sure, you want to include that, because that burns calories and it helps with your cardiorespiratory system, helps your heart and lungs. So gets rid of the body fat around your whole body. And then a good diet, because you can't outwork a poor diet. So those 3 combinations of things is really the best way to lose body fat. Number 6, sweating a lot means a better workout. And that is not necessarily the case. You want to just get to a point where, like I mentioned before, if you're doing strength training, where you cannot do another repetition in good form. So it's really all about intensity, but sweating is the body's way of getting rid of heat. Now, just because you don't sweat doesn't mean you didn't have a good workout. You can, just as long as you go towards muscular failure, you're good. It's for strength training. And there are people, one of my clients walks. She walks, 3 or 4 miles a day, which is I recommend to everybody. And she doesn't really sweat when she does it, but she's lost weight. She's lost 50 pounds in 6 months. So it doesn't matter if you sweat or not. That's just your body's way of letting you know that it's hot, breathing. Number 7, stretching before exercise prevents injuries. You can do dynamic warm-up, which moves your muscles in a specific way, mimicking what you're going to do before you do the exercise. But static stretching, I'm talking about static stretching where you hold a specific stretch for a period of time, 30 seconds to a minute. That's not necessarily the case as far as how it prevents injuries, because it actually can lengthen the muscle, and when it lengthens the muscle, the joints aren't protected, so it potentially could lead to more injury if you do stretching before you do strength training, particularly, or any intensive workout. So you want to kind of stay away from that. Dynamic workout is good. Stretching, leave that till after you're done, or at a different time period during the day. But there's that. Okay. Number 8, certain exercises gives you long, lean muscles, like say things that Pilates. I know that they've said if you do Pilates, you get lean, long muscles. Fallacy. You cannot get lean, long muscles. It's more genetic than anything else. A lot of ballerinas do Pilates because it was invented by a man that rehabbed ballerinas. So he invented that to help with ballerina injuries. So I'm assuming that maybe, I'm going to look like a ballerina if I do Pilates. Well, you're not, because exercise just makes you stronger and more toned, but it doesn't actually make your muscles leaner and longer. Okay. Number 9, you need to spend long hours in the gym to see progress. You don't. Intensity or quality over quantity. So high intensity workouts are just as good as a long workout. You don't need to spend a lot of time in the gym. Just so long as you get to what's called temporary muscular failure. Like say, for instance, you're doing a bicep curl and you get to 9. I don't know if I can do 10. Can I do 10? And then you're done. So it's intensity over quantity or length. So you don't need to do a long period of time. And then number 10, machines are safer than free weights. Well, if you learn correctly, free weights are just as safe as machines. Now, for a beginner, I would say just for maybe the first couple of weeks, I would say machines they guide you in a certain way, so that you can't break out. You can't do it wrong. Let's just say. So in that instance, it can be a little bit safer, but in the long run, doing free weights brings into play so many more things than machines. Balance, stability, proprioception. So as long as you learn how to do it safely, free weights, what I mean by that are dumbbells or barbells, are just as safe as machines. So those are the 10 misconceptions with fitness. What about the 10 misconceptions for nutrition? Or what are the misconceptions? Not necessarily the 10 misconceptions, but what are the misconceptions for nutrition?
I have quite a few, but I did want to mention, I did not know that, I think it was Joseph Pilates was a ballerina instructor, and that's what why he created that, but that's interesting to know. And yes, I've heard those common misconceptions too, like promising leaner muscles and the whole thing about you have to sweat to have a good workout. I was like, well, in July, it's 100 degrees out, going to my mailbox.
Right.
Made me sweat.
Exactly.
It was exercise.
That is true. Yes.
Okay. Well, in the ever-evolving world of nutrition, where if you're tuned into different news outlets, it's eggs are good for you one day, eggs are bad for you another day, coffee's good for you, coffee's bad for you. There's a lot of misinformation, a lot of misconceptions. We're going to help clear that up. And as a registered dietitian nutritionist, part of my goal is to help dispel some of these myths surrounding food and diets and provide some insight so that you can make more informed choices about what you're going to put into your mouth and for your sustainable health. One myth is that all carbs are bad. Now, we've kind of gotten more out of the keto, but keto was like the rage for what seemed like ages.
True.
And it was all about the demonization of carbohydrates. And while it's like not all carbs are created equal, right? So you can't oversimplify and say all carbs are bad, because those carbohydrates include things like vegetables and fruits, for example. Whole grains aren't necessarily bad for you either. So it was not being very specific in terms of saying, these are the carbohydrates you want to stay away from. The simple carbohydrates, the ones that involve more sugar, the ones that really jack up your blood glucose. So the key really is to just focus on complex carbohydrates and in moderate portions rather than avoiding them altogether. Number 2, fats make you fat. This is similar to the no pain, no gain of the 90s kind of saying. Because that's when we had a lot of like, what was it, like Snackwell's no fat, it was like low fat or no fat cookies, all sorts of things. But what were they putting in instead?
Sugar.
Yeah, exactly, because you're still looking for that taste and that flavor, and fat delivers that. So when they were taking this out, they were just giving us more sugar. So the belief that all fats are bad is very outdated, and it, again, does not make space for the healthy fats. So avocados, nuts, olive oil, all of those play a huge role in helping provide the good fats for our body functions, which can include things like better heart health, making sure that our skin is nice and soft and not dry and cracked. And it also provides more sustained energy, which we might even need for some of our workouts. So it's definitely, just with the carbohydrates, it's really important to distinguish between the good fats and the bad fats. And the bad fats would include things more like trans fats, for example, or eating a lot of saturated fats. So that's myth number 2. Number 3, skipping meals can lead to weight loss. It can lead to weight loss, but you do not want to do some extended fasting only to rebound and overeat for 2, 3, 8 hours of the day. That really can mess up our hunger and satiety cues longer term, and it can cause nutrient deficiencies if we're doing too much. So we really would just want to have regular, balanced, healthy meals so that we have sustained energy, so we can work out for one, and just, to have all the nutrients that we need for our bodies to function well. So that's myth number 3. Myth number 4, again, there's like a theme here with carbohydrates, fats, and proteins. Like, not all proteins are equal either. So while you do want protein in general for muscle health, overall well-being, you might want to consider the different nutrient profiles of animal-based proteins versus plant-based proteins. And we have been hearing more in the past, 10 years, basically, about more plant-based proteins and what they can do for us. So they don't have saturated fat. They have more nutrients, usually, not all the calcium sometimes, but there are things that you can really evaluate and say, okay, well, I'm trying to lower my cholesterol, I'm trying to do this thing, I want more fiber, then maybe more plant-based proteins. If you feel better, if you've just given birth or whatever the case is, you might feel like you want more beef temporarily. So neither one of them is like good or bad. It's more, what does your body need right now? And you want to make sure you have the blend of amino acids, including the essential amino acids, to just help your body do the repair and everything it needs to do with protein. So some plant-based sources, though, would be things like nuts or seeds, legumes, even whole grains have proteins too. So that's something else to consider. Another thing, and this kind of goes on more around January, it seems, but detox cleanses, like especially extreme detox cleanses, because everybody's like, oh, I want to try to lose a bunch of weight. The human body does have its own detoxification systems, including your skin, your liver, all that kind of stuff. Your kidneys are part of that too. So the body already knows how to do it. The problem is the toxic load. And a lot of us have a lot more toxins coming in. We drink wine, we have certain cosmetic products we put on our skin. Our body absorbs all this stuff. It's in the air we breathe, the unfiltered water, or whatever the case is. So I would say, yeah, sometimes our detoxification systems do need help, but you don't want to buy some in-the-box system that has poor quality supplements or things made with artificial sweeteners, for example. That's not really going to help you out long term. So really try to focus on a balanced diet rich in all the nutrients that your body needs in order for it to do its detoxification job, and also try to reduce the toxic load as much as possible. So that's number 4. Number 5. Number 6 is one size fits all diets. Just because something worked for your neighbor, your best friend, your cousin, your aunt, whatever, it doesn't mean it's going to work for you. So I've heard everybody say things like, oh, one of my neighbors went gluten-free and she lost a bunch of weight. I was like, are you celiac? Do you have problems with gluten? Then like, probably don't worry about that.
Yeah.
Or celebrities, for example. So there is no one single diet that works for everyone. If you had, based on your age, you're going to need to eat differently, exercise differently. Based on your activity level, you're going to need to eat differently. If you have certain health conditions, you're going to need to eat differently. And you might have certain dietary preferences that aren't going to work for you that do work for other people. So really, this is all about taking a personalized approach to nutrition, which is huge. And as you do with fitness, right? So those are some, but I have some others that I've heard too. So one is that you have to give up all of your favorite foods in order to be healthy. No, you do not have to eat twigs and tofu and live a deprived life to be a healthy person.
That's good to hear.
Yeah, hopefully that gives people hope. Also, knowing what to do is different than doing things. So sometimes people are like, I already know how to eat right. I'm like, well, that might be true. I knew how to eat right, but I still was including a lot of things like sugar on top of my healthy eating, or eating a giant salad that was more like a trough than it was like a meal. And I was like, oh, it's healthy, but I was overeating stuff too. So we really want to make sure that we are implementing and learning from good sources and not just watching TikTok and Instagram and getting all of our information from there, because it may not be the best. The other common misconception is I work out so I can eat whatever I want. This reminds me of being in college, because it did seem like there were two different camps. There were the exercise physiology kids, there were nutrition kids, and the exercise physiology kids were like, we could eat whatever we want, like M&Ms, because we're just going to go burn it off on the treadmill. And all the nutrition kids were like, we eat so well, we don't have to exercise. And like, there wasn't a marriage between the two, but that's really what gets us the best results, right?
Right.
So, and the other thing to remember is that you can't outrun a bad diet. So would you say 30% of how you look and feel is based on your workouts versus 70%? Because that's what I would say. Like,
I totally agree with that. And as you, even as you bodybuilders, it's like 90% how you eat as opposed to how you exercise, because they already know how to exercise. They just don't eat as well. Yeah, but I totally agree. 70-30.
Okay, well then there you guys, you hear it. Oh, and the last thing, and this reminds me of working with some football players. They would plan entire cheat days. I remember one specifically would be like, yeah, I plan my cheat day. I go to like Cinnabon first thing in the morning, and then I do this and this and this and this. And it was like a planned self-sabotaging almost for all of the healthy eating, which was really boring probably to him, because it was like chicken and broccoli and chicken and broccoli and chicken and broccoli like every night. So we just worked to help make it more varied, but also help him achieve his goals, so that the cheat days were really more of like a treat on a certain day, and also figuring out other ways to treat ourselves that didn't involve food. So those are some things to just consider. And hopefully we've kind of changed your mind if you've thought any of these things, like I need to do a cleanse, or I need to spend 5 hours a day in the gym. Hopefully you now see that that's not true. And we've given some pretty good suggestions on what to do instead, so that you keep moving forward with both the nutrition and the fitness pieces. Ken, anything you want to add?
Well, as my usual, saying, consistency is key, both in exercise and nutrition too. The longer you can do that, the more benefit you'll see, and the more excited you'll get, and for the long term, and you'll stick with it.
And I'd like to say it's always about personalized nutrition, and just picking one thing helps us to make a small change versus trying to do a complete overhaul. So if there's anything that stood out to you today and what we've said, and maybe a way that you thought before, try to adopt a new thought and make new consistent actions based on that. And if you have any questions, please feel free to pop them in the comments. Let us know, because we do want to make different topics that resonate with everybody. And we'll look forward to talking with you very soon. And take care, everybody.
Bye.
We have a 90-day VIP program, and this is all about knee surgery prep and recovery. So we want to make sure that you have the best outcomes by having your own virtual personal trainer and your own dietitian nutritionist who's going to help coach you. So by integrating these services that we're going to offer with your doctor's care, you will have a lot of potential benefits, including customized diet and exercise plans to help you get ready for the surgery. And then afterwards, the surgery, dealing with things like inflammation or limited mobility and how to get that strength back into the knee, for example, and the muscle surrounding it. We can also help create routines that focus on strengthening certain specific muscles. Like I said, reducing inflammation and excess weight to help your knees not be so stressed out. And we're also going to improve flexibility and enhance your overall health. What else we're going to do, Ken?
Well, yeah, you said a lot. That's good. Injury prevention and rehabilitation for sure. If you're getting scheduled for knee replacement, let's just say, you want to strengthen those muscles around the joint so that it's easier for you to recover. So the stronger the muscle is before you go in, the easier it is to rehabilitate that because it's already programmed. It's already programmed in the muscle and in the nerves and so forth. So it's a good thing. You want that. Your muscles want that. They desire that, and the rehabilitation will be so much easier. And with a trainer specifically, we can guide you. I can guide you through the proper form and techniques in reducing your risk of further injury as well. So, what else you got, Adrienne?
Another great benefit of this program is that we do everything virtually. So you can get your virtual health coaching and your virtual personal training so that you can do it from home, from your couch,
Don't have to go anywhere.
For
Don't have to go anywhere for sure. Yeah, that leads into motivation and accountability. So, we provide personal one-on-one, motivation and support, and with regular check-ins, and we track your progress and set you up with goals and make sure that you're on track and making the progress that you need to make in order to go forward.
And a key part of this is that it's holistic too. So there's a difference between going to our doctors or orthopedic surgeons and, getting news that we're going to get a surgery, and then just kind of like prepping in terms of having some meals made or people to kind of help out. But what you really want is to have this combined dietary part and this personal training part along with your doctor so that you have all three on your team. And by doing this, clients can have better posture, they can lose weight, reduce inflammation and pain, have increased strength and overall well-being. So you are like hitting the ground running. So you're prepping, you get the surgery, and then you're done and you have support to just get on with the rest of your life. So right. I think it's a great program.
I do too.
And it's only $14.97 for the whole 90-day program. And it includes one-on-one support with your nutrition coach and also your personal trainer. You'll get 9 sessions total. And we are here to help you thrive.
Yes, we are.